Hello YouTube. Welcome to your second tutorial on how to graph linear equations on the coordinate plane. So let's get started over here. So suppose we're given the equation y equals 2x plus 1. So if you watched the last tutorial, you know how to graph this by making an old-fashioned x and y chart. But I'm about to teach you guys a more faster and more efficient way to solve these equations. So over here, as you might remember from last time, this 2 over here, since it's a number before the x, we call this the slope of the equation. And this number over here, we call the y-intercept of this equation. Okay, so now that we've gotten this out of the way, class probably didn't know what this means, but in a few minutes I'll make sure everything's crystal clear for you guys. So before we get to this, we'll talk about the slope. Slope, it basically means rise over, just erase that, make it easier for you guys to hear. Listen. Slope is basically the rise over run. That's basically like the equation for slopes. So if we look over here, then we see the rise over run equals, and we have a slope of 2, and 2 can also be written as 2 over 1, right? So another important thing to know about slope is there's two types of slopes. There's a positive slope. You could either have a positive slope or you could have a negative slope. So examples of a positive slope would be things like 2x plus 1 or 3x plus 2 or even 1/2 x plus minus 3. In all these equations we have a positive value of the number for the number in front of the x. So for our negative values we have things like negative 2x plus 1, negative 3x plus 2, and negative 1/2 x minus 3. For all of these equations, the coefficients in front of the x are negative, making them a negative equation. So the difference between negative and positive line on the coordinate plane would be a positive line goes from coordinate number 3 to coordinate number 1, which means, in other words, it goes like this. It's a line that goes in this direction. But negative lines just go the opposite direction, going like this, right? So let's try to graph this equation over here. So we have a rise over run of 2 over 1. So since we have a 2, just like in our graph down here, we can stick 2x plus 1 is positive because 2 has a positive sign in front of it. So we know we have a positive slope. Now we have the y-intercept. So the y-intercept is the point where this equation intersects the y-axis. So for us, we have a y-coordinate of 0, 1. The y-intercept for all the rest of these equations would be like for 3x plus 2, it's 0, 2. For 1/2 x minus 3, it's 0, negative 3. For negative 2x plus 1, it's 0, 1. For the negative 3x plus 2, it's 0, 2. And for negative 1/2 x minus 3, it's 0, 3. So now that we know we have a y-intercept of 0, 1, and we have a rise over run of 2 over 1, we can find the graph of this equation. So if we go over here, we're just going to make a little dot over here where we have the y-intercept. This is our starting point for graphing this equation. Now, since we know we have a rise over run value for the slope of 2 over 1, and we know that we have a positive line, not a negative line, we can go up 2, and to the right 1, start forming a positive line. And then same thing, we can go down 2, and to the left 1, to keep forming this line. As long as we keep going down or up 2, or left or right 2, in a direction that makes the line positive, we should be good. So maybe if we went down 2 again, to the left 1, and up 2 to the right 1. We can continue doing this indefinitely, but for the sake of time, we're just going to cut the line short here and just draw a line passing through all of these points. Just like so. So now that we have this line, this is basically all we have to do to graph this equation. The arrows at the end of the line just symbolizes the fact that our line will keep going on and on and on in the direction with the same slope of 2 over 1, 2 over 1, 2 over 1, going on and on and on, over and over again. Okay, so let's get started with our second example over here. So for our second example, we'll try a different kind of equation. Maybe y equals 1 negative 1/3 x plus 2. So right out of the gate, we see that we have a slope of negative 1/3. So basically the rise over run for this equation is negative 1 over 3. So we have a rise of 1 and a run of 3, and we see that this line is negative because it has a negative coefficient. And for the y-intercept, which I'm going to write as y-int, we have 0, 2, because the y-intercept is always 0, whatever numbers after the x, or the addition sign, my bad. So we have this. Now we can start graphing our equation. Since we know it's a negative slope, we're just going to have to take that into consideration when we start adding our slope in. So right now we have a y-intercept of 0, 2, which we're going to plot right over here. And then it's a rise over run of negative 1/3. Since our slope is negative, we're going to start pointing our next point over here, going down 1 to the right 3, just like this. Because our slope is negative, we want a line that goes this way. Go up 1 to the right 3, up 1 to the right 3. As before, we can continue doing this indefinitely, but I'm just going to stop over here. And just connect all the lines. Preferably, you guys should probably use a ruler. I don't have one with me right now, so I can't really do that. And yeah, it's a really messy line, but it'll just have to do for now. Okay. I hope you guys are understanding. You guys should leave some comments down below if you don't understand anything, and I'll go back in depth with this topic. And let's start with the new line. How about y equals 3x minus 5. Just because we have a little bit larger numbers, that should not really matter. So how about you guys try this equation by yourselves? Pause the video and unpause it when you're ready, and I'll start explaining to you guys how to graph this equation. Alright, hopefully you guys have probably tried at least once trying to solve this problem. Now let's go through it together. So in this equation, we have a slope of, just put rise over run here first. Because rise over run is slope formula. So we are rising 3, and we're running 1, because slope is 3, so we have 3 over 1. As well as we also know we have a positive slope, so it is going from quadrant 3 to quadrant 1. And we also know that since we have after the addition or subtraction sign, we have a 5, we have 0, negative 5 as our y-intercept. Okay, so now let's get started. We're going to graph y0, negative 5 first, right over here. And then since we have a positive slope, we'll start going in the appropriate direction, going up 3 to the right 1, up 3 to the right 1, to the right 1, to here, down 3 to the left 1, and up 3 to the right 1. As before, we could just continue doing this forever, but for the sake of time, we're just going to stop there, draw our little line through all the points, and just draw some arrows at the end. And this is just how we graph the equation of y equals 3x minus 5. So hopefully you guys learned something here today, and I hope to see you in the next video.